This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
But you say he's just a friend.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
Justin, do not look at the Fox News set right now. The Dodgers are celebrating their 8th World Series. They've already set Los Angeles on fire already. Tomorrow's going to be the big parade.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up today's show with a good friend of ours, a dear friend of ours. I believe this is her third time in studio, dating back to when Andrew Giuliani, he was there on Sunday. I didn't see Andrew, though, but he sent me a very nice text. Great job. I saw his dad. His dad spoke, I think, 2 speakers after me. And that is Joanna Wischer. Now, you worked with Andrew in Trump's White House, didn't you?
Yes, we worked very closely together, and Andrew was one of the hardest working staffers that President Trump ever had in the White House.
I believe that. You too, I'm sure, and I would imagine that both of you will get jobs again. I'm pretty convinced of that. Your great father, Robert, who I've grown to love as well. He's here in studio today. He loves you too. It's so cute. Like me and my daughter, Ava. So, let's talk about the economy for a second, because there's a lot of reasons why Trump is the better candidate. Certainly foreign policy, these horrible wars in the Ukraine, in the Middle East, my beautiful place, Israel, would not be happening. There's no question in my mind it wouldn't be happening. There's other things we could talk about, but the economy is really a mess. And I'm not sure that Biden and Harris have been honest about that from day one. Now, the new GDP numbers came out yesterday. You may be aware of this.
Absolutely.
And it turns out that the economy really is in dire straits.
Absolutely. If you look at the recent gross domestic product report that came out from the Commerce Department, the definition of gross domestic product is the amount of goods and services produced over a given amount of time by a country. However, what Biden didn't mention about that report is that government spending is included. And not only is it included, it is the key driving factor behind any growth our economy has seen under his administration. It's not like we're a manufacturing powerhouse right now. It's not like our job market is so healthy. It's government spending that has contributed to any growth. And by the way, he touted 12% growth. We'll pair that with 20% inflation that we've seen the past 4 years. Americans aren't feeling the benefits of a supposed growing economy.
And we are yet to hear Harris, forget about Biden, we are yet to hear Harris, who's running for president, and she used a lot of nice words, a lot of abstracts, joy and unity. That's lovely. I love it. But when she speaks about the economy, other than giving away free stuff, Democrats have to give away free stuff. I'll give you $25,000.
Yes, they do.
I'll send your kid to school.
Absolutely.
Now, the first thing I learned in economics class at Brooklyn College a long time ago was there is no free lunch.
Nope.
So it may be free for you, but this schmuck, Sid Rosenberg, I'm going to pay for it.
Absolutely.
It ain't free for me. So she has not yet outlined anything, has she?
Nope. And by the way, they touted a low unemployment rate. What people have to realize is that there are millions less Americans even participating in the job market anymore. So they're touting, oh, we have low unemployment rate. The real unemployment rate, if those 10 million Americans that are no longer present in our job market are included, it would be closer to 7 or 8%, which is the sign of a dire economic situation that we're facing in this country.
Is that because eventually you outlive the list? They take you off the list even if you're still out of work, but it's kind of like if you're out there for a couple of years not working, then you're off the list, even though you're still not working.
Absolutely. You're not working. And people, after COVID, Biden was paying people more to stay at home than they were to work. And so you have millions of people that just decided, I'm not coming back to work. And on top of that, if you look at the recent jobs reports, more illegal immigrants, foreign-born workers are getting jobs over American citizens, and the jobs that Americans are getting are part-time work with no benefits. So tell me that is the sign of a healthy economy. Kamala and Joe are lying to the American people.
Yeah, I saw even today, Starbucks is furious because some of these policies that were enacted during COVID, stay home, all that nonsense, which killed us, they're still doing it. Like,
absolutely.
These Starbucks employees, they didn't even come into work for 2 years. They're like, you got to be in the office 3 days a week or you're getting fired.
Absolutely.
Why did it take them so long?
Yep. If you want a communist, socialist style government, vote for Kamala Harris, where people are endlessly dependent on the state for their well-being. They're going to control us. They're going to continue to take away our freedoms. But we need to show up for Donald J. Trump if we want to make basic living expenses affordable again, have jobs, have productivity, and have the kind of grit and spirit. I want to bring up something my dad, reminded me of. The White House was such a well-oiled, strong engine under Donald Trump. After Biden took over, I know plenty of Secret Service officers that said, hey, listen, the culture here has changed. I remember when we were leaving, the Biden White House staffers were coming in with their masks on, measuring our desks to put plexiglass in between. This is a weird group. And on top of that, I remember walking by the White House, nobody was showing up to work. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to elect Donald J. Trump if we want a well-oiled machine, a safe country, and a White House that actually cares about getting work done.
I don't know what The Economist is. I guess it's a magazine. You'd be familiar with it because you're great with the economy. So moments ago, this Mika, this horrible person, she just informed the 8 people watching MSNBC, including my brother-in-law, that The Economist has now endorsed Harris as president. And according to The Economist, the country would run a very, very big risk if, in fact, Donald Trump was elected president. They went as far to say that even Trump's buddy, Elon Musk, who I met for the first time Sunday, that was actually really cool. Me and my son met him. Even Elon Musk said that a Trump win would mean temporary heartache, which, by the way, I'll take temporary heartache if it means long-term success. But here's what they're saying on MSNBC. The Economist endorses Harris because Trump's going to hurt us. And even Elon Musk has said we're in for some short-term pain if Trump wins.
You want to know the biggest joke about that is? The Economist is not even an American paper.
It's not?
They're British. I'm not listening to the British who we gained independence from, okay? And by the way, they're total globalists over there. And you know what? Yeah, okay, the UK is an ally of ours. They rip us off on trade just like anybody else does. I'm only listening to Americans that are doing the work. They can stay out of our elections. I'm not going to listen to The Economist who they endorse. And by the way, when Kamala Harris talks about a Trump tax in the form of tariffs, that's not true. Tariffs are used by every single serious country, if not every country in the world, to protect their domestic industry, to protect jobs. It's not a form of control. It's not a tax. In fact, we're going to gain over $4,000 every American family with the Trump universal baseline tariffs. So get ready. Everybody's going to be able to not only afford basic living expenses, we're all going to get richer.
Yeah, he actually mentions tariffs every opportunity. I mean, in terms of words that he loves, President Trump loves tariffs, and he says that's our key to minimizing, if not ending, inflation. That's our key to, like you just said, Joanna, more economic success. He says it's all about tariffs. Now, look, most people have no idea what that is. They understand, if you put a tariff on China, for example, that's not good for China. But they have no idea what it really is. They just know if I'm a Republican, Trump likes it, it's good. And if I'm a Democrat, Harris hates it, it's bad. Yep. But what exactly does a tariff do?
A tariff makes foreign goods more expensive than American goods. And what that does is it incentivizes people to buy American and also to hire American. It's going to make importing goods into the country more expensive. And that means, guess what? More Americans are going to have jobs. Because if it's harder to import, that means we have to turn to our domestic workforce to manufacture goods. And what that does over time, if you look at our country, we used tariffs to recover from the Revolutionary War. We produced goods better, faster, and stronger than any country in the world. Every country utilizes tariffs. Yet here we had some globalist elites, in our universities telling us that tariffs and free trade is the way to go. There's no such thing as free trade. Every country that we have a relationship with uses tariffs to protect jobs. If we want jobs, if we want cheaper goods over long term, and we want prosperity and thousands extra dollars in our pockets per year, we need to protect American jobs. We need to protect American goods.
So it's fair to say when Trump comes in and starts using tariffs for some of these countries, how does that help inflation here in the United States?
Absolutely. So what that does is that the more we produce domestically, the more we have tariffs on long term, inflation actually goes down, and any potential inflationary impacts felt in the short term are offset by the amount of money that we're going to be keeping here in America. So if there's a fraction of a percent, maybe here and there, it is far less than what we've been experiencing under Joe Biden. And plus, any of that is offset by the thousands of extra dollars we're going to be having in our pockets every single year, the more the tariffs stay on. So
I just had a conversation with Bill O'Reilly, and he was part of this town hall, Joanna, on News Nation last night. And a lot of people came to this. They had Stephen A. Smith, and they had Sarah Palin, Geraldo Rivera, all these folks, headlined by that jackass Chris Cuomo. So, so O'Reilly, my friend Sarah Palin. So O'Reilly gets into it with Mark Cuban. He says, "Hey, Mark, you're a multimillionaire, billionaire. You're Mr. Business. What's the name of that show? The Sharks. What are they called?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. Right. Yeah, you know everything about business, right?" He goes, "Explain this to me. You're down on Trump. The growth was over 9% with Trump. The numbers are like -2 or 2% would buy." And again, I'm not sure if those numbers are exactly right. I'm trying to paraphrase what Bill said, but he made the point that people did very well under Trump.
Absolutely.
And I said to Bill, what was Cuban's response?
Right.
And he said he didn't have one.
Absolutely. Going back to tariffs and inflation, we had tariffs on $350 billion worth of Chinese goods. Ask anybody if they were struggling with inflation under Donald Trump. Okay. We had so much more money in our pockets. We had lower taxes, deregulation, and we had more American jobs. And when you have a humming economy, inflation is not impacted. Okay. So nobody was complaining about crazy sky high prices under Donald Trump like they are now. So that's what people need to ask themselves when Kamala Harris is saying, "Oh, Trump's universal baseline tariffs will cause inflation." It didn't the first time.
No, and it won't
It's
again.
not going to the second time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I know that interest rates, that's become a huge issue. Folks are having difficulty starting small businesses because banks are not for giving you a lot of money. And trying to buy a house these days, not very, very easy. Very, very difficult to get a decent amount of money from the banks. And that's another issue that Trump has to deal with.
Absolutely. No, absolutely it is. And it's making big life decisions that, especially my generation, getting married, the decision to have kids. This is impacted by...
And you're married recently. You just had a little kid.
Yes, and we had a little baby. But guess what? We're paying an arm and a leg to take care of him. We're so happy to do it, but it shouldn't be like that. And people are feeling like, man, I have to weigh owning a house versus having another baby. And these are decisions that, change your life. Sure. You know what I mean? Sure. So many people, maybe they would decide to have 2 or 3 more kids if they had more money in their pockets. And this is why this is a culture problem. It's not just an economic problem. It's not just a national security problem. It's a culture problem. We need to make our country strong economically so that families are prosperous again. This is about families. This is about having kids. I want to have plenty of kids, hopefully if God blesses me that way.
Right. This Craig?
Yeah.
Have you asked Craig about this?
He comes from a big family. So. But it's just, we shouldn't be feeling that it's too expensive to make decisions like that impact your family and yourself your whole life.
It's hard. I can tell you that I've got a daughter in college.
Right.
And that's not cheap in Europe. I've got a son who goes to a private school in New York City. He's a wonderful boy. That's not cheap.
Right.
And, I've got friends that don't have kids, and they go travel. They do all this stuff, And Danielle and I are like, well, you know what? We can't do all that all the time. By the way, I wouldn't trade places with these people any day of the week because they're going to die lonely. That's the bottom line. They're going to be, some nursing home and some person's going to be changing their diaper. I'm going to have my kids. So
absolutely.
You can go to Jamaica. You can go to Greece, all these wonderful places. I wouldn't trade places in a heartbeat. But it is a lot more difficult just going through the daily stuff when you've got children.
Absolutely. And if you look at what the Biden administration and Kamala Harris did with baby formula, not only did they create a tremendous shortage by not taking care of one of our American factories, Abbott, that was responsible for a quarter of the production of baby formula in this country, they started outsourcing and buying formula from other foreign countries who have sent us contaminated stuff before.
Aye.
And so there was not the proper due diligence and inspections done. It's a war on American families that we're seeing. It's not just our economy. It's not just jobs, but it's families. So if people want to protect their kids and make their lives easier and also prevent them from potentially getting raped and killed by illegal immigrants, vote Donald Trump.
True.
You may not like his personality. You may not like how he said, this is especially for the women out there. We need women to show up for Donald J. Trump. Women like me care about safety. We don't want our kids shot up in schools. I don't want my little boy being told he's a little girl. Okay. If you don't want those things, vote Donald Trump. You don't have to love everything about him, but vote for him if you want to protect your kids.
Well said. In the final 60 seconds, let's get your father on the horn here. Your father's a big entertainment guy, big music guy. I think he smoked pot with John Lennon. I don't know. But you saw what happened in Madison Square Garden on Sunday. You're a guy that's done music, events and concerts, all that stuff. What do you think overall of Sunday's production?
Well, there was a lot of speakers, so it was very lengthy, but I mentioned to you that I thought what you did was incredibly authentic. And I can tell you this, and I heard Lou earlier talking about the crowd think with musicians and actors. Actually, it's not as much on the surface, maybe, but behind the scenes, a lot, especially musicians, will respond to authenticity and go like, okay, that's the real deal right there. We use very streety kind of language. Yeah. I loved, what President Trump had to say. There was a lot of great speakers, some that I thought were long. I think you and I both agree on a few of them.
Well, Dr. Phil is still speaking.
Yeah.
Don't believe.
There's also been nothing like the Madison Square Garden event that happened. That was a very unusual event in a very unusual historic place.
Agreed.
But I sincerely love the energy, and next time I'm gonna try to have a say and say, listen, the lineup has to change. You move up to the top.
Your speech was legendary. It was great. And I forgot to mention how great it was on air. But yeah, we need to utilize you more.
You sent me a very nice text, Joanna. Well, we are out of time, unfortunately. But once again, you had a Grand Slam home run like Anthony Volpe did 2 games ago. And, sad, and you too, Robert. Great to see you. The great Wischers, Joanna and Robert. And we love you guys. And next time you'll be back, hopefully Donald Trump will once again be president of the United States.
That's right.
Give my best to your handsome husband, Greg, that little boy of yours.
They don't call her Confiscation Kamala for nothing. Don't take it from us.
And I support a mandatory buyback program.
A mandatory buyback program? That means the government forcing you to turn in your firearms. To what lengths would Kamala go? Well, she doesn't even support the individual right to own a firearm.
I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country.
We get it. Sometimes it's tough to understand what she's talking about. But on the Second Amendment and your rights, Confiscation Kamala has been crystal clear. Her gun control agenda comes straight from that petri dish of bad ideas that is California. She can claim to be a gun owner all she wants, but we all know she's the same anti-gun California radical she's always been. Don't be left defenseless. Defeat Confiscation Kamala. Vote Trump like your life depends on it, because it does. NRA Political Victory Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. NRAPVF.org.